Okay. Um,
Okay.
say hello. Okay. Oh, okay.
Let's say hello.
What? Yeah, if you want to say hello, there's another person kind of listening from the wings.
Yeah, a little bit lurking.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Anya. I have a background in human computer interaction. And I'm slowly forming a conceptual understanding of value flows, but I'm really fascinated about the potential applications and watching Brent kind of enact ideas onto the world and see how that goes.
Yeah. I
Pleased to
think-
meet you.
Yeah, it's good to meet you. Yeah, introduced you. So.
Yeah, it's really nice. I am very awkward with talking through machines.
Yeah. Well, I can't see you, so it's sort of it's sort of weird. Do you want me
Yeah.
to go dark, Brent, or do you need some
Or that'd be
bandwidth?
better. I could try troubleshooting and get an audio, a video feed going. We had the issue last time.
It
From the,
doesn't. Oh, okay. It's up to you. It's fine. It's no big deal.
you wanna
I
be
just
on
didn't know
camera or
what you
no?
wanted to do.
Okay, yeah, I'll just yeah, I'll just use no video or somehow.
Okay.
Oh, Kim Duffy. Okay.
Oh,
Hello, Kim. I think we have the four musketeers here now. So.
put my video back on. Aha, a person. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Lynn. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Should I do an introduction, or are you Kim, are you just a willing student, or I mean, I
What?
know I
I'm
brought you
sorry.
in because I knew you all. Have been in the identity space and the programming space and the and I guess Lynn and Bob have been in the, well, I don't entirely know their history, but I know they've worked on the value flows ontology. And I've known about that for, I guess, many years.
Yeah, back to Sensorica, I guess, huh?
Yeah, Sensorica. I don't know if I discovered Sensorica on my own or Alf Plavik introduced
Oh,
Sensorica to
okay.
me. Yeah. But that was back in like 2012 when I kind of became part of the web payments community group. And that sort of ties into where
Oh,
a mutual connection I have with Kim, where she worked with this guy named Manu Sporny who did the JSON LD and a bit of verified credentials and
yeah,
some web payment stuff. So
yep.
the
I
big
don't know him, but he's a famous person in the semantic web W3C space, huh?
Yeah, I guess he's pretty well known. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I guess I'm here like because I'm at this workshop and I'm trying to figure out how I implement value flows like in a practical thing. Like if I go to talk to a farmer, how do I, what questions do I ask them? I mean, because obviously I don't think they're gonna want to really know much about value flows per se. It's gonna be like a
Mhm.
black box, but I want to figure out how it actually would be useful and kind of optimize the processes that I'm doing. I mean, it seems like one strength of value flows is maybe composability or something. It's like you can sort of or or because it's things are just kind of broken up, you can what seemed attractive to me, it seemed like you could build kind of these decentralized distributed economies with it and just have various entities working together, and you can have, well, with kind of like you can have take advantage of the kind of the thinking of the linked data, the big global graph kind of thing. And follow those
Mhm.
connections, and if you can figure out the mappings correctly, I mean, the ontology mapping is a bear, and upper ontologies don't really solve the problem.
Nope.
But if you can have some level of integration, that would allow a lot of different parties to integrate together, but it also allowed you to swap different production streams, so you could supposedly make a lot of different things. And whereas I don't know, maybe it's been where you just have organizations and people who want to work together, but they don't have everything logged, and it's like a big, like going through a Encyclopedia Britannica just to figure it out. But if you have some sort of economic flow and tracking, then maybe that's where value flows would be useful. But I'm trying to figure out now, like, how practically it could be useful. I'm trying to get some familiarity with it before I can move into like some kind of more grandiose vision, especially with so like with kind of decentralized identifiers. So there was kind of a big deal where one of the big problems with the semantic web is you didn't have like permanent places where you could have ontologies posted. That they tried to do a thing with like Google and or something, or work with schema.org, permanent URLs sort of. I clocked out, I'm sorry, the phone, the camera, but yeah, so like having a decentralized identifier is like a more permanent identifier that you can relate things to. But it's also, I guess, less manipulable by individual entities. So I mean, in the long term, that the two value flows and decentralized identity we play together. I'm sure somebody like Elf Plavik or other people have already kind of been delving down that. I'm not sure what happened at WeShare or DWebCamp or those other places, because I haven't been there. But
Nor I.
I'm trying
nor
to, yeah,
Bob.
I'm trying to figure out how to get my feet wet, and this is a particular workshop which is kind of for the future of education sort of thing. But I sort of view education as well, I guess my kind of learning style is not necessarily a bunch of lectures, but give me the tools, give me the connections, and so like knowledge graphs can, I think, illuminate different pathways, because the brain's kind of all really associative. But if you can see, if you can have the graph and maybe fine tune it and make it less noisy, then see the really important stuff and only see more detail when you need to, then maybe that could be a thing, and that could be paired with something like value flows. But
So Brent,
yeah, I'm sort of rambling.
you mentioned food. You mentioned food and farmers. Do you have
We have
an
those around here.
application in mind, or a farm, or some people in mind?
I guess there was
that
this
need
lady
some-
named,
something?
there was a lady who was like part of this workshop, and I guess I missed out on them because they're actually, I think, working with the farm right now, but sometimes they bring in produce from different places.
Mhm.
So it's not like yeah, sometimes it's some local stuff. It's not like big industrial conglomerates, which
Right, that's
so
good.
and I guess in terms of timeline, practically we have like until 1st of August, I think. Well, the end of July, really. And we'll be trying to roll this up. So I'm trying to figure out what I can learn with people here. That's just my own timeline.
That's how long your workshop thing lasts?
Yeah, it's a 2-month
Or-
workshop.
Wow,
It started on the 8th, I think, or the 5th. I think the 5th of June. Yeah, we're just hanging out in Oneonta, New York, or near there, up in the mountains.
sounds nice.
I think I might have like a conceptual understanding of value flows, and I wanna see if it matches with what
Okay,
is actually.
do you want me to let you speak? Anya, I think has something to
Anya,
say.
yeah, I could hear her. That's great, Anya.
I'm a they, not a her.
Okay,
So my understanding is that if you are able to deploy like value flows, just kind of make sense of information out in the world, you can create a more modular and flexible economy. So rather than having like rigid structures where there's a market that's determined by the people who actually have like a say in the market and purchase their way there, and then they kind of dictate the terms where people are able to trade their labor skills, knowledge, goods, for what other people have to offer. Instead of having really rigid structures, you're able to just kind of adapt to whatever context in which exchanges like that might arise, be they like food in exchange for money like we'd be doing here with farmers, knowledge exchanges, like the overall workshop is about people getting together and bringing their skills and knowledge and kind of figuring out how they could coordinate with others to make bigger things than they'd be able to individually. Kind of removes a layer of bureaucracy and politicking, all the politicking that's involved in making decisions on a much bigger scale. So rather than having one person represents a
Hang on.
wide variety of folks. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, we cut out, but, well, this,
that's okay. I got that. I could say a couple things if you like.
Yes, please.
Uh,
Am I anywhere within the?
You are, yes, you definitely are. So value flows is very kind of, I don't know, fundamental's the right word. It's very agnostic and basic, and especially designed to be that way for the reasons you talk about. Like it does, you can be using money, or you could not be using money, or you could be using different kinds of money, or you could be barter or mutual credit or whatever. So in that sense, it leaves itself open to what people want to creatively do to make new organizations and new forms of economies for themselves, right? But it doesn't tell you how to do that. You can do a lot of different stuff. It's a simple, basic model that has like a jillion use cases, some of which are really different from each other, you know?
Super cool.
So there's that. And then the other piece of it that is important is that besides like exchange, and trade and all that kind of thing, it really has a focus on production. So, you know, we think that people need to include that in their thought process if they're trying to get any kind of alternative economy going. Otherwise, it'll just get subsumed by the current system. You know, we have to be also thinking about how we coordinate production together and how that works, and how people get provisioned from doing work in production to create goods and services for other people. And, you know, so that whole piece is really important in value flows.
Thank you so much for adding that piece. That gives me a lot more to think about as well. And this sounds like a really useful tool with a lot of potential to change the world in very positive ways. I feel like we're looking at new ways of existing outside of the systems that have really not been helpful for most people.
I think what is maybe, go ahead.
No, go ahead for Anya. I wrote it down, so. What's maybe? Yeah, I was just gonna say something that I thought of, like, when Anya was speaking, I remembered that another person here wondered whether you can like model like intangible resources like I don't know, maybe a music recording or something like that.
Mhm.
And if that's also a resource.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I should have mentioned that earlier because I thought about it when you were asking your question, Anya, but or explaining the way you understood it. In value flows, resources are defined very broadly and very flexibly. So yes, it definitely includes digital kinds of resources. So, music and whatever, but documents, so knowledge. It includes services that are not concrete, it includes work, so that there are many. And I'm trying to think what other example. Lately, one thing Value Flows has been doing in recent kind of months and maybe a year or two is to also expand the definition of resources to support our knowledge of climate and ecosystems that don't have to be in the human realm, right? Like it's really important that we know that CO2 was an output of this process in addition to the thing we were making, kind of becoming a thing. Because value flows is resource flows.
Wow, model that allows to build in.
Breaking up on me.
Yeah, we're on satellite right now, so
Okay, yeah, understand.
Oh, that's incredible.
Are you guys out in the woods?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're on the acreage and
Nice.
okay. I don't know if it just
So anyway, yeah, the concept of resources. Hmm?
oh no, never mind. I say stupid stuff. The concept of resources is
I'll kill my video too.
here there. Okay, yeah, that makes it lower bandwidth.
I'm here. I just wanted to get you a little more bandwidth.
Yeah, yeah, we had a thing with the satellite where they throttle it.
Oh.
So it's a problem in the evening, basically. So I appreciate that you killed the video. Now we just have audio, which is great. So yeah, Anya, so you can model a lot of different things as events and resources and agents. And there's like, I guess there's agents is the only thing that has like subclasses. The other thing are just like parts of thing. But you can do a lot with that model.
Yeah, the reason things like resources or resource types, we call them resource specifications, don't have subclasses is that we want that to be definable by users. So we didn't make any assumptions there. The only reason we have subclasses of agent is because there are several other vocabularies in the in the semantic web space that do that. So we wanted to tie in with that as best we could. So,
Like tie in like similar, or that you do it all same as or something and follow the link, or
yeah, we can do a same ad. We started out just using FOF.
okay, yeah,
But
general,
we pulled back from that when we added our climate stuff. So now we have like person, organization, and ecological agent.
so they're not,
So,
they're not defined in terms of like DBpedia or oh, what was it? Yeah, there's another one, but oh, the Google one,
There-
schema.org. Yeah,
oh,
I don't
yeah.
know, maybe I didn't read that, but they always point back to that, it seems like.
Yeah, and we haven't defined a lot of same as kinds of things, but we will before we get the 1.0 version out. We'll take care of a bunch of that stuff. We have not really worked with very many people using semantic web
Oh, really? Yeah,
RDF. Yeah, so
It's
it
kind of
hasn't
a-
become a practical need.
is it kind of a hard sell? People just wondering why you need all the semantics sort of thing, or?
Well, we don't ever sell really. We fold into existing projects where people have already made those decisions.
Okay,
So,
I guess that sort of triggered another question, like. I guess we're
Okay.
figuring out this long term, is there like, how are we gonna like, if we meet again, how are we gonna figure out like how we should meet, or what kind of? I guess the lawyers thing is kind of like intellectual property and licensing and all of that other business of like whether we can just build on your stuff and talk to you and kind of figure out later where points of value creation are. I guess within the talking about value networks, yeah,
so Value Flows itself is open source. I mean, it's a vocabulary, so that makes sense. And it's a completely volunteer organization. There's nothing involved really there. Well, we can make use of money, but there's nothing like that. There's no intellectual property involved. Like in an open value network, that's a decision of the organization, but we we make a point of spending time with people who are also contributing to the commons, so that we can have a whole ecosystem of open software and open hardware too, for that matter, right?
okay, I mean, and speaking of that, would our kind of food idea, would that be helpful to you, or it's just, I mean, because we're just trying to get our sea legs, or or learn how to walk kind of thing.
I think it'd be helpful to you guys to start with something concrete and work backwards into value flows instead of kind of starting with value flows, because you can do so many different kinds of things with it.
Okay,
And I think it would also help you to have an example with people that are really doing whatever it is, it's like growing food, say, or, maybe it could even be something within your workshop,
mhm.
there's a lot of value creation in a workshop.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I don't
So
know.
that's just a suggestion. I don't know if it's a good one for you guys or not, but value flows is more easily understood with coming from a concrete place than coming from a kind of theoretical or modeling place or something.
Sure.
I
So
think, but that's also just the way I think. So that's not the way everybody thinks.
So-
That makes sense to me.
So it's quite possible, it seems like the Food Network, that the idea of best implementation might come from outside my brain, and that I'm like stuck in theoretical land usually all the time. But
You
okay.
are, Brent. You're Mr. Theoretical. We need both. We need theory and we need practice, and they need to feed each other,
Yeah,
So it's a good skill.
okay. Um. Yeah, yeah, I also mentioned Kim Duffy earlier. She's in the, right now, she has been in the decentralized identity space and the verifiable credentials space.
Mhm.
So you may be familiar with both of those things. Well, you were familiar with Managed
Familiar,
20.
but I'm sure, Kim,
Yeah,
I'm sure you are tons more expert than us. I mean,
but
we're
like,
not,
yeah, like specifically, she worked on verifiable credentials for education, and the first thing she worked on was BTCR. So she was utilizing op returns in the Bitcoin blockchain. And
Ah,
I think the reason for that was that Ethereum wasn't quite ready then, wasn't quite mature enough. And so they just utilized that and used it to kind of sort of timestamp things, I guess, in a way. Uh, it was a persistent immutable layer. And yeah, just verifiable
mhm,
credentials. So like digital diplomas or digital certificates for courses or something like that. So just like a
mhm.
signed JSON payload. But I don't know if you use JSON or what serialization was represented. Um,
For the education stuff, yeah, the main focus was JSON, and we use commonly JSON LD or linked data. In fact, there were a lot of how do you say it? There were a lot of ontologies and schemas already written that we could use.
Mhm.
But yeah, Lynn, I like your call out about anchoring this work in a use case. And it sounds like there's some people meeting with the farmers to kind of get some insight into that. It would be good to sort of understand maybe some, economic problem or whatever problem that people in your workshop are trying to focus on. And
Yep.
maybe we could meet again after and sort of talk about how value flows and decentralized identifiers might be useful in it, if on decentralized identifiers, if at all. So I like,
yeah,
Lynn, the idea of starting with the problem and seeing if any of this junk is useful.
I think that's really good, Kim. And Brent, one simple way you can try to think of it while you're talking to people is just to find out what their resource flows are. What do you make? What do you trade? What do how do you do that? So, stuff like that. It's all about the resource flows. So if you ask those you can't ask it that way, you gotta talk in more concrete terms, but maybe that would help you draw enough information from farmers or, whatever the process is. I'm sure that the identifier thing will come into play at some point, right? But
yeah. I sort of felt bad about having come on the call right now because I thought, well, decentralized identifiers, verify credentials, and I think, well, and then like, there's various ways that I can think about interop with that, and like, in terms of not just semantic web, but like abstract math and all of that. My brain's very theoretical, goes everywhere. But at this point, in terms of like the grandiose thing, in terms of like getting something concrete done, we don't. It's like it could be useful later. It probably will be, but it's Dagwood in a sandwich right now. So
Can I suggest something?
yeah,
So if you're starting with farms and food, they obviously things there. Think about there is what crops you grow,
mhm,
how do you grow them, how's your soil, what does your soil need, how do you prepare your soil, uh, what do you put into the ground, what don't you put in the ground, what are your problems, and then once you harvest the crop,
mhm,
where does it go? If you're, let's say if you're grain does it need to get milled into flour? You know, if they take the flour, are they going to make bread?
Mhm.
Are they going to make pasta? They got to, and then what? And so it's like around us, there's this grain chain, which is like the farms who grow grains,
Mhm.
and then the mills that turn it into flour or something like that, and then bakers that bake it into bread. There's other places that turn the flour into pasta, and then the pasta goes to restaurants, and the restaurants feed and so you can think like there's this. Those are all examples of resource flows that would be involved in food networks and farm food
Mhm.
prep eating, how anyway, and then it also gets into the stuff that Lynn was talking about the environment. In other words, soils are being depleted in many places. So there's all kinds of things that one can think about there about resource flows and problems with them, and who does what, and how do we eat.
Mhm. So part of it would be figure out what flows are most valuable to model too. Because it seems like from the pie example, there's lots of things you just take for granted that are just kind of exist, like 5 pounds of sugar. But there's all sorts of economic flows that go into there, but they may not be important to what you're actually most interested in modeling. That you just want to make a pie, you don't care where the sugar comes from. Or you might want to model it back to the orchard, but we'll have to decide that. Are you there?
Brent, what is the workshops connection?
You're giving them all the time.
Okay, I cut out,
Yeah, yep. We only have less than 3 minutes left to Brent.
yeah, looks like that, wanna say something?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Sam. I'm sitting next to Brent.
Hi, Sam.
Hello. One of the things, as Brent mentioned, kind of before he cut out, was one of the things the group has been interested in particular is just, I guess, sort of where to draw the line, right? It's, I guess, sort of kind of dips into the philosophical side of ontology, which is like what is real and what is worth forming a category around. Like, do you model the sugar all the way back to the sugarcane production and the transport of it and manufacturing and packaging and everything, or is it sufficient to just cut it off at a certain point and say 5 pound bag of sugar? I think that's
I
something
think that depends. Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do and what so different user groups or different, any kind of group that is going to answer that question for you.
right.
It's a good question, but it's very specific to what you're trying to do. Otherwise, you'd go crazy, right?
And then I guess to pair with that, when looking for a something to apply this ontology to, is it more suited to a situation where everything that's involved, or is it possible to basically leave space for unknowns?
That's a very good question. There's always going to be a need to, there's going to be unknowns. It works better when you know more, like when people all along, say supply chains or something can record and connect things together. But that's not always possible, so. We're gonna go by, what's the deal, Brent? Should we?